welcome back to another episode of Chill Wave ASMR. Today, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. Exactly 7 days ago, I ran the New York City Marathon, and so I thought I would share a bit about my experience and kind of take you through the day, and share some of my reflections since then, and have a little chat. So hopefully that's something that's interesting for you, and if it is, awesome. If not, that's okay. Running is not for everyone, and marathon running certainly not. It's not even really for me. So anyways, let's chat, and we'll take it from there. I'll probably do a little bit of tapping as well, just to add a little je ne sais quoi to the ASMR video today. So, alright, let's get started. So the New York City Marathon, it takes place in New York City, which makes sense. The run starts in Staten Island. You run across a big bridge into Brooklyn. You run through Brooklyn, over to Queens, across to Manhattan, up into the Bronx, down through Harlem, into Central Park, and that's where the finish is. I've done several half marathons, and I've done a couple marathons as part of an Ironman event, but I've never done a standalone marathon, and especially an event as huge as this one. This was definitely a massive event. And so that's why I wanted to participate. One, to see if I could do the distance. Two, for like a physical and mental challenge for myself. Three, an excuse to go and hang out in New York City. And four, to see what an event of that size is like, because it's a whole different thing. So, my wife and I headed down to New York City a couple days before the race. Our flights were actually canceled, and so we had to do some last minute adjustments. We were going to fly out of Northern Ontario, but because of the flights, everything being last minute because our original flights were canceled, we had to drive to Toronto and fly out of Toronto. We've done that drive like a million times, so that's not a big deal. The race was on a Sunday. We flew in on the Friday. We took it easy, enjoyed the city. We stayed in Manhattan. And on Saturday, I had to go and check into the race, pick up my bib. The bib is the little paper that shows your race number on it. And they often have like magnetic strips that will track your time as you cross timing mats throughout the race, like checkpoints basically. And then I got the rest of my nutrition ready. It's really important to stay hydrated, obviously, during a race like this. You have to be really aware of your electrolytes, your carbohydrates. In the days going into the race, I tend to avoid food that is high in fat or fiber. I stick to mostly carbohydrates and protein. You've heard of carb loading? I'm really good at that. try to make sure that I'm all topped up going in. So on the Saturday, do a lot of hydrating. Race morning, super early morning, breakfast at 5:30 in the morning. And then I had to take a bus to the race start. If you stay in Manhattan, the race ends in Manhattan, but it starts in Staten Island. So my race time didn't start until closer to 11 a.m., which is very late. Typically these races start very early. But I think this is part of the process of managing 60,000 runners. They have to stagger the start. So my start was a little bit later. Our bus driver got lost, and so what should have been 45 minutes driving was nearly 2 hours. Some people did miss their start and had to start later. I was okay. I had to wait around still for another couple hours. The key thing, I think, is trying to stay calm. And motivated and engaged and interested while you're waiting to start. They called overhead that it was time to line up. Joined my corral, so I moseyed on over. Everyone was really excited to start. The energy levels were super high. It was really exciting. And then they usher you out onto the bridge to the start line. And a cannon goes off. And you start. There was a lot of security at this event. For good reason, I think. You could see snipers kind of posted on rooftops and lots of helicopters around, and that was pretty interesting. My goal for the race is basically number 1, to finish. Number 2, to do the best I can with how I feel on the day. I've had a challenging season in terms of some injuries that slowed down my progress. I spent the most part of the fall and the spring and early summer, dealing with a couple of different injuries back to back, which really hampered my training. So I knew going into this that it wasn't going to be my best or what I could do, but I went for it anyways and did my best. So the run starts uphill, going up this bridge. If you imagine each bridge goes up and then down, and there are a few different bridge crossings. So it was challenging to start on a hill, but you just kind of have to go slow and conserve your efforts. When I saw the first mile marker, I was pretty excited. And actually, the first 5 kilometers seemed to go by really fast. That was pretty awesome. I felt really good too. Legs felt good. My spirits felt high. Energy levels good. There were lots and lots of spectators. Everyone was really engaged and interested. People were running around high-fiving each other, and there was so much encouragement and some really funny signs too. It was really awesome. surely you just kind of keep going and try to keep moving forward. They had regular aid stations set up where you can have water or Gatorade, so I made sure I took fluids at each one. The first 10 kilometers felt really good. And actually the first 15 kilometers felt really good. You go through these little moments where you feel kind of depleted, lower energy. Things just felt kind of hard. And you take some nutrition, look around at the crowd, get pretty pumped up, and then you'd feel kind of motivated again, and energy would come back, and you just keep pushing. The crowds throughout this race were unbelievable. Super, super high energy. The crossing from Brooklyn into Queens is where the halfway point is. 21.1 kilometers, or 13.1 miles. And just coming up to it, someone in a wheelchair fell. And myself and another guy helped this person up and got them back on the road again. And everyone was cheering this person on, and just the support out there was wild. It was such a high energy thing. It was really fun. I think the person in the wheelchair was okay. And they blasted off and were gone in no time. At every aid station, they had a lot of different cups. If you imagine each person going through has 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 cups of water and Gatorade. And then you kind of discard it on the ground. Volunteers clean it up. But it's hard to get all the cups when there's all these runners going through. And they get mushed into the ground. They get slippery. It kind of turns to mud. And around kilometer 25, I slipped on some of that stuff and I felt something pull in my calf. I was already starting to slow down a bit, feeling a little rough. And then after that, some calf pain. I really felt like I had to be careful. I could still run, but it felt like I had to be careful. Just keep moving forward. As you get through beyond 30 kilometers, you see more people walking from time to time, especially walking up the hills. It's very normal, very common to see that. Your heart rate really peaks, spikes going up hills if you're running. So it's a lot of expended energy for very minimal extra gain. So it actually makes a ton of sense to walk up those hills. You get a little bit of a break doing that too. Moving to 35 kilometers. This is where you really start to hurt. It hurts everywhere. You're tired. It's hard to stay up and stay motivated. There's bands playing around you, people with megaphones, confetti cannons. Like, the people of New York City came out in a big way, and if there was ever going to be anything that could get you stoked to keep running, it was that. All the really cool signs as well. It was awesome. outside, down along the bottom, and then up around the side again. Into the finish. People were so pumped to be finishing. The energy was amazing. It was electric in the air. It was crazy. By this point, I was starting to feel a little dizzy. No nausea or anything like that, but feeling a little lightheaded and in a lot of pain. I felt very sore and stiff. But finished the race. It took longer than I had hoped, much longer actually. And it was hard during the race to feel that this was okay. You know you're capable of doing so much more, but in the end, what you're able to give on the day is what really matters. I'm not trying to make excuses that I had injuries and things like that slowing me down, but I didn't feel like I was showing up to the start line on the day in the best shape that I could have been in. And so when that happens, it's easy to feel discouraged or feel like you don't deserve to be there. But there's another side of it. It's the resilience. It's the discipline to push forward, to push through the pain and to overcome and stick with it. And I think that's where I really did a good job, where I really proved something to myself, I think. I stuck with it, and I finished the race, and I'm very proud of that effort. For finishing this race, you get a medal. This is the medal for finishing the New York City Marathon in 2023. It's beautiful. Very proud. It says Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, New York, Roadrunners. So, I'm very proud of that effort and what I was able to accomplish on the day. After the race, you get kind of shuttled through a big pack of runners, and then you have to walk like 10-15 blocks, like it's the last thing you want to be doing, in order to find your family. And so I walked in, and it felt pretty rough, but I found my wife, and we took like a rickshaw back to our hotel, because I was kind of needing to be off my feet. Had a shower, put my feet up for a bit, and we made our dinner reservations. Italian food. Cannoli. Very good. In the last last week since the event. I've been sore, but feeling pretty good. The calf pain that I had during the race when I tweaked it has been persistent, but seems to be improving. Thankfully. But I think it'll still be a few days before I'm really back to normal running again. But there it is. Pretty cool. And so what's next for me? I think, now that I've kind of crossed that big one off the list, I think I'm going to go back to the half distance, both in terms of Ironman, half distance triathlon, and in terms of half marathon. Try to get some speed back and focus on hitting some personal goals on that way. I'm not saying I'll never do a marathon again, but I think I want to feel like I deserve to be there a little more. I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared and a little bit less like I'm surviving it. But overall, I'm really proud of what I did, and I'm super stoked about it. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today while we talk about this. And I really appreciate all the words of encouragement that I got going into the event and afterwards. So thank you so much. Also, just want to say thank you so much for tuning into these videos. Like I said before, I'm having a ton of fun making them, and it really, just like the crowds cheering on the side of the marathon, like it really is very motivating and exciting to have interactions with people who are watching the videos, giving feedback, positive, negative, it doesn't matter, just, interacting and hearing what people think. So thank you to people who are commenting and saying things and, chatting about that stuff. I really appreciate it. And a huge thank you to all my subscribers. It's hard to imagine I'm already almost at 500 subscribers. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for it. And so, thank you for subscribing and sticking around this little slice of internet. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna go for now, but I'll see y'all again tomorrow.